They say the skies are ruled by steel wings and steady hands. But on one fateful evening, neither steel nor training could save the souls aboard Flight 237. The sun had dipped low on the horizon, painting the clouds in a bruised mixture of purple and gold when the engines began to cough like a dying beast. The cabin lights flickered, oxygen masks dangled like pale nooses, and the voices of the crew, once calm and practiced, cracked under the strain of disbelief. Among the 189 passengers sat a quiet woman with unassuming eyes, her hair tucked behind her ears, a paperback novel open on her lap. To the strangers around her, she was nobody, just another face in a crowd of anxious travelers. Yet when the plane lurched and the captain's voice broke through the intercom, saying words no passenger ever wishes to hear, "We are experiencing catastrophic failure," it was not the pilots who became the center of hope. It was her. The woman rose from her seat as if guided by something greater than fear, steadying herself against the armrests as the plane groaned like a wounded animal. The passengers stared, some clutching rosaries, others pressing trembling lips to whispered prayers, while she walked toward the cockpit door. A flight attendant, her face pale as candle wax, tried to block her way, but the woman's voice, firm, commanding, yet strangely soothing, cut through the chaos. "Let me in." Somehow the attendant obeyed, as though she had been waiting for those words all her life. Inside the cockpit, both pilots sat drenched in sweat, their hands frantic on the controls that no longer obeyed. Warning alarms screamed, needles danced madly across dials, and outside, lightning split the sky like an angry god's whip. The woman slid into the jump seat, her hands hovering above the instruments with an odd familiarity. "Do you know how to fly this plane?" the captain demanded, his voice shaking. She did not answer with words, only a look, calm, unblinking, ancient, as her fingers gripped the yoke with the certainty of destiny. The plane dipped hard, sending trays, luggage, and terrified cries crashing into the aisles, but the woman's hands held steady. The pilots watched, their years of training faltering in the shadow of her instinct. Her movements were neither panicked nor rehearsed. They were primal, as though she had flown long before planes were ever dreamed of by men. Through the storm, she guided the faltering craft, her eyes fixed not on the dials but on the very breath of the sky itself. The passengers, pressed into their seats, could feel it. The strange hush beneath the thunder, the sense that invisible hands now steadied them. "Who are you?" the co-pilot whispered, his knuckles bone white against the throttle. The woman did not look away from the horizon. Her lips curved, not in a smile, but in the solemn weight of purpose. "I am no one," she said softly, "but tonight I must be everyone." The storm howled, the engines sputtered, and the ground below waited like an open grave. Yet the plane, under her command, defied the pull of death. Minutes stretched into eternities as the passengers held their breath, waiting for the inevitable. Yet instead of fire and ruin, there came a strange serenity. The plane broke through the storm clouds and entered a stillness so vast, it felt like stepping into another world. The stars glimmered sharp and close, as though heaven itself leaned, near to watch. Below, the land opened in dark forests and rolling plains, and far in the distance glowed the faint lights of a small-town airstrip. With hands as sure as prophecy, the woman guided the crippled bird lower, its wounded engines groaning like a prayer. The landing gear screamed as it descended, sparks flew when wheels met cracked asphalt, and the entire fuselage shuddered as though it would tear itself apart. But it held. Against every law of chance, the plane held. And when it finally rolled to a stop, silence fell, a silence so deep it seemed the earth itself had paused to honor what had just been done. The passengers erupted in sobs, in cheers, in praise, But the woman only stood, her expression unreadable, and walked back into the cabin as though nothing had happened at all. When the emergency crews arrived, they found the passengers shaken, but alive, the pilots pale and speechless, and the plane scarred yet standing. They searched for the woman, the one who had taken control when even the pilots had surrendered. But she was gone. Her seat, still marked with the imprint of her novel, was empty. No one had seen her leave, no name matched her ticket, and no trace of her ever appeared in the records of Flight 237. Some say she was an angel sent for a single task. Others whisper she was the spirit of a long-dead aviator, refusing to let the skies claim another soul. And some insist she was just a woman, flesh and bone, who rose when destiny called. Yet every passenger who walked away from that runway swears, to this day, that without her, they would have been nothing but ashes in a forgotten field. And so her legend lingers in hushed retellings, passed from lips to firelight, a reminder that sometimes salvation comes not from the hands we expect, but from the stranger sitting quietly beside us. This story was brought to you by American FolkTales. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales.